Hi, this is Jana Markwell, and this is my HOMAGO final project using Blooket. What is Blooket? Blooket is a web-based online review game that is similar to Kahoot. I'm sure many of you have used Kahoot in your classrooms and found that your students have loved it. But what makes Blooket special is that it has a built-in game modes that keep the learning new and exciting for your students. Blooket allows the students to review concepts in all areas of the curriculum. And by creating a Blooket set, a student can review the concepts in multiple game playing modes. Dr. Harris is a 15-year gifted teacher, and she states that Blooket presents content in the format of a game, a multiple choice game to be exact. The games, aka Blookets, cover a wide variety of grade level content, subjects, and topics. Each Blooket can be hosted by teachers in different ways, such as individually, in teams, as class, in Blooket Live, or by assigning for homework. Due to the variety of hosting options, Blookets are excellent at creating and maintaining engagement for students. Some highlights for Blooket include the fact that Blookets are engaging for students. They're already on games most of the time when they are not at school. Many of our students are. So having a gameplay review that is educational and fun is a win-win. They are collaborative. They can work on teams to work through Blooket sets, or they can work in teams to create Blookets. They're creative, they're motivating, they are free to use for most of the, I would say, more important gameplay modes. The memberships are inexpensive. The first membership option starts at $2.99, and that opens up a few different options, such as being able to see statistics for your class, such as questions that they're frequently missing that you may need to go and reteach. And it also gives your students early access to new Blookets that are coming out, excuse me, from Blooket itself. Another great feature is that it is self-paced for many of the games. So students don't have to feel rushed or feel nervous about answering questions because it is in fact self-paced for most of the games. Some things that could be improved for Blooket. It is limited in its question styles. Similar to Kahoot, it only allows questions in a multiple choice format. There's no fact checkers for created sets, so you really have to do your due diligence when you go into the Discover search on Blooket, which I'll show you in just a little bit. There are hundreds of games that have been created, hundreds of Blooket reviews that have been created for you to use free of charge, but you really need to go into each of them, look for misspelled words, look for errors and answers, just to make sure that your students are getting the best activities. Another person's Blooket cannot be edited. So if you find one that you really like, but you want to change a couple of things, you are not able to do that. There are many questions that are needed for one gameplay. For a lot of the games, students have to answer 3 questions correct before they get to actually enter into the gameplay mode. And for your students to be interested and engaged, you're going to want them to be able to play as much as possible. So that means you're going to have a wide variety of questions. And student data, which I talked about a little bit before, can only be seen in a paid membership option. Okay, so as far as pedagogy, I really focus on the I do, we do, you do in my classroom for a lot of my lessons. So for Blooket, it's much of the same thing. So in the I do stage, I'm going to be explaining to my students what they need to understand. I'm going to model things for them in this process. Then we'll move into a we do stage, which is where my students will be doing most of the work and I will be there as more of a facilitator and helping out where someone may have some questions. And then in the you do stage, this is where the students really take ownership in their learning and their understanding. And they're going to give me a product at the end that shows me they really have mastered the concepts. So for my plan for implementing Look It into my classroom, I'm planning to use this in February. We will be studying government at that time, and there are a lot of very confusing vocabulary words in our government lesson, words that the students haven't heard before, words that have similar meanings, such as who was the leader of our country, who was the leader of our state, who was the leader of our town or city. Those can be very confusing for students to keep track of. So I thought if we had a booklet that the students not only could play, but could also create on their own, that would really help imprint that information into their brains. So on the first day, we will have the I do, which is when I'm going to show the students what booklet is. I'm going to have it on my smart board. I'm going to show them a video from YouTube that was actually created by Blookit to really hook the kids into the idea of playing this game, the game set. And it's about a 3-minute video, which is just perfect enough to keep my second graders' attention. And after we watch that video, then I will actually go through the process of setting up an account. I'll make a pretend account, show them how that's done, and then we'll just explore the Blookit site together. On day 2, I'm going to have the students have their own devices and do the same thing. They're going to then create their student accounts. They're going to be able to explore Blookit on their own. They're going to be able to pick a review game and try out some different games, but all while I am there circulating around the room for the we do. On day 3, we'll have team play. So I will pick a Blookit and from a topic that we have already covered in our classroom. I'll put the kids onto teams, and then they will actually be able to battle each other. I would pick the Battle Royale game in Blookit, which I'll show you here in just a second, and allow them to kind of go head to head and see what it's all about. On day 4 and 5, I'll be putting the kids into partner groups, and each group on day 4 and then also on day 5 will receive 5 vocabulary words from our government unit. So at the end of day 5, they will have created a Blookit set that has 10 review words for our government test. So on day 6 and 7, then the students will actually have time to play each other's Blookits. So I will have each partner pair stand up, share what they've done, talk about things that were difficult, how they troubleshooted, which might help the other students with some things they might have been struggling with. And then everyone will get to play each other's games. So by the end of day 7, not only have we learned how to make a Blookit, we've also reviewed for our government test over 4 days. So I think that's going to be really helpful for my students. All right, because of the lack of time I have for this video, I'm just going to kind of show you very quickly. These are some of the Blookit games that your students can choose to play. We've got Gold Quest, Cafe. Please feel free to come back and read through these directions later, or these explanations. Battle Royale is the one I was talking about, where you can have team versus team, or you can have one-to-one battles on, review and comprehension, things like that. That's a fun game. There's a game called Racing. It's all about strategy and skill. Some of them are about speed. We've got the classic mode here, which is more like a traditional Kahoot game. And then Crazy Kingdom is one that's fun, where you really have to learn how to not only answer questions correctly, but you have to help the people of your kingdom deal with the problems that they face every day. Like their house got torn down, they need more wood. How can you help them as the ruler of this kingdom without going broke? All right, so let's jump into Blookit right here. So I'm going to go to blookit.com. I'm going to log in. Here you'll see that I have already started to create a set for my government review game. And so I'm going to go to the edit function. And so all I did here was I uploaded a picture. These are representing the 3 branches of government. I've already created the first question, which I just put the word. So when my students do this, I'll ask them, okay, pick a vocabulary word. That is your question set. Then you'll have to enter 4 answers. And so we've got the leader of our state, the leader of our country, the leader of our town, the leader of the world. Okay. And so that will be one question in our Blooket set. I always make sure that there's a time limit. 20 seconds is pretty good because they have to be able to read it, find the correct answer. And then I put the answers in random order. So they're, I don't always have to think, oh gosh, I started with the correct answer in A. I've got to make sure then later I put it in D and then in C. The program will do it for me, which is great. Okay, we'll do one more. Ask a question. Let's say my word is citizen. And here I'm going to answer, put an answer in. So a citizen could be a person who likes to swim. I'm going to make these very vague. A person who lives in a community. My third answer might be a person who runs the country, which could, confuse them just a little bit because that's similar to another answer that they would see, or a person who runs a school. Okay, so once I do this, I click the correct answer. I still have my time limit of 20 seconds. I'm going to make sure my random answer order is on, and then I'm going to save it. Okay, so now I have 2 questions. The next thing, so what I would need to do is I would need to have a lot of questions in order to allow my students to answer multiple questions and then play the game. Okay, what I want to do real quick here is show you my favorites. I went through the discovery sets and I just typed in things for 2nd grade. So animal classification for 2nd grade, author's purpose for 2nd grade. And I had so many great already created options pop up. And so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. They're all right here for you. Okay, so I'm going to go to Discover. Let's say I want to do time for 2nd grade. Click on this, and here are some different bookets that I can choose to play. Okay, maybe I'm going to pick this one. And it shows me here are the questions. I can see the answers. Remember to double check those to make sure that you know that they're correct. And then the kids can go into gameplay mode. I want to go back to my slides here real quick and talk about just a real quick reflection for this whole process. At first, I was really not entirely sold on this process. I felt like at first that it was kind of just another thing to add to my to-do list. It wasn't until I got into the mess around weeks that it really brought me into the concept. Having to do this for class gave me time to look at sites and apps that I really wanted to explore, but had not had the time or the energy to really focus on. So I found some great apps. I was really looking at gamification or gamifying my classroom, and I found 2 sites that I love. Goose Chase and Blooket are great if you want to try those out in your classroom. Some that are very popular with teachers that I hadn't had time to explore, and this gave me the opportunity, was Class Dojo and Prodigy. I just found out through exploring that those are really not going to work in my classroom for things that I wanted to do. So it was great to have that option. The last week of mess around, I stumbled onto Blooket. Couldn't wait to learn more. Once I geeked out with it, I just knew it was the right thing for my class and for just letting my students take ownership in the learning and teaching process. So I know that was quick, but I wanted to make sure that you had a chance to kind of look how to set up a Blooket and be sure to go in and try it out. Check out the different gameplay options. I think you'll really find some stuff that you love in here. Give it a try, see what works for you. And I really hope that you just love Blooket as much as I do.